When you're standing on a ridge, watching a flock of geese drift across the horizon, or just trying to make out the detail on a distant sailboat, the moment you're about to decide whether to buy a high-end pair of binoculars can feel a little like stepping into a darkroom. You wonder if the price tag really translates into something you'll actually use, if the tech promises will hold up when the wind is blowing and the sun is low, and whether you'll end up with a pair that sits nicely in your bag without turning every outing into a juggling act. That's exactly why I'm taking a hard look at the Swarovski OPTIK EL Range TA1242 binoculars, not to hype them up, but to help you decide if they fit your specific needs. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest thing I wanted to understand was how the tracking assistant and the Bluetooth-enabled Swarovision app actually behave when you're in the field. On paper, the system promises to guide you to a target area, even when it's moving, and to let you log measurements directly to your phone. In practice, after a morning of setting up on a local birdwatching spot, the app paired without any fuss. The interface is clean, you select a target, and the binoculars display a subtle directional arrow in the eyepiece. It's not a glowing laser, just a faint line that points you in the right direction. For a user who spends a lot of time tracking moving subjects, whether it's a predator gliding over a meadow or a racing yacht cutting across a channel, this little cue can save a minute or two that would otherwise be spent guesswork. That time saved matters when you're trying to capture that perfect moment. The 12 magnification combined with a 42mm objective lens gives you a decent balance of reach and brightness. I took the binoculars on a dusk drive through a nearby state park, and even with the sky turning a deep blue, the view stayed surprisingly clear. The scan mode that Swarovski advertises for measuring moving targets actually felt intuitive. You simply hold down the button while the subject moves across the field, and the binoculars calculate an approximate speed and distance. In a real-world scenario, that meant I could roughly gauge the approach speed of a flock of swans before they disappeared into the reeds. For anyone who needs to log data on the fly, think wildlife researchers, tournament birders, or seasoned scout leaders, that built-in functionality is a practical benefit, not just a flash feature. Another point that often gets glossed over is the ergonomics of the whole package. The binoculars come with a universal comfort strap and a side bag that's more than a simple pouch. There's a dedicated pocket for the lens covers, cleaning kit, and even a small tear-resistant sleeve for the app's Bluetooth dongle. During a full day of hiking, the strap stayed comfortably in place, and the side bag fits snugly onto my backpack without adding unnecessary bulk. The overall weight is comparable to other premium 12 models, which means you won't feel like you're carrying a small telescope on a long trek. That kind of day-to-day usability is something you only notice after you actually put the gear on for several hours. Now, let's talk about where this binocular might miss the mark. The price point is obviously on the high end of the market, and while the tech integration is impressive, it does come with a learning curve. If you're the kind of user who wants a point-and-shoot experience without fiddling with an app, you might find the initial setup and the need to occasionally reference your phone for data a bit intrusive. In my tests, the Bluetooth connection was stable, but I did notice a brief drop when I moved quickly between different levels of terrain, something that could be frustrating if you're trying to stay continuously in the moment. Additionally, the orange eyepiece coating, which is intended to reduce glare, can feel slightly tinted under bright midday sun. Most people adjust quickly, but if you rely heavily on color accuracy, say, for bird identification where subtle plumage differences matter, you might need a few minutes to acclimate. Another practical consideration is the size of the binoculars relative to the compact category. At 1242, they are larger than many 842 models that some casual users favor for ease of handholding. If you often travel light, or you expect to use them from a stationary spot without a tripod, the extra bulk could be a deterrent. The included strap helps, but the binoculars still demand a steady hold for extended periods. For those who primarily use binoculars on a boat, a tripod or a sturdy mount becomes almost a necessity, adding another piece of equipment to the kit. Who should buy them? If you are an avid birdwatcher who spends whole days in the field, a field researcher who needs to capture distance data on the go, or a hunting enthusiast who likes to track moving game with precise measurements, the EL Range TA's integration of tracking technology and the reliability of the